Film Fuks. This week on the podcast, the Film Fuks get fucking alphaed by...
Jerk.
All right,
I wear my
guys.
hat.
Nice. Excellent. I wear my hat over my headphones.
Over my headphone.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh, fell
The
right
king
off.
has fallen.
The king has fallen. All right,
King
guys.
down.
We're the Film Fuks.
Yeah, guys, we're back.
We're back. What a surprise. We're pretty
For-
consistent.
For the summer's biggest blockbuster, one of them.
And by biggest, we're not
I mean,
just
literally
talking
biggest.
about
He
exciting.
takes the biggest shits.
The biggest
for sure.
shits. We're talking about
causing
our man,
earthquake.
our
Our
man
boy.
Carl Rivers taking the biggest shits.
Big
Where's
dumps.
that applause, man? Where's that applause? Yeah, thank you. Thank
There
you.
we go.
There
Big
we
Dick
go.
versus Godzilla. Who
There
would
we
win,
go.
man?
Yeah,
That's a match for the ages right there.
Obviously, my dick.
but we know.
He would just eat that dick, dude.
Yeah, he gobble it up.
I wish he would. Deep throat that shit.
Yeah, that would power him up, dude.
Carl, I don't know what your sexual proclivities are, but if you're
Yeah,
looking for
your dick
Godzilla
powers him
to
up.
deep
Somehow
throat
it's
your
like
shit,
nuclear dick. That's why it's so big.
Carl's looking for Godzilla to deep throat his dick. That's some fetish
know-
shit that I can't even match.
That's incredible, Carl. Like, you know, when you go for your fetishes, you go hard. You're like, Godzilla's dick. Let's go
Is
for
that
it.
why your dick was out the entire movie?
Pretty much.
Yeah, like just
It was-
wagging around.
Like,
dude. Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know how you saw it because it was like right in front of your face.
I got
it
it
was
confused
so long
with that
and
three-headed
hard.
dragon. I was like,
I
he has
did.
3 dicks?
Why does he have
Christ.
three? Why does he have a 3-headed dick? But yeah. So we will be reviewing Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Woo! Wrestling match of the summer.
Wrestling
yeah.
match? No, wrestling like amp up video of the summer.
For
like,
sure, dude.
We're honestly just like foaming at the mouth for Godzilla versus King
Woof.
Kong at this
Oh,
point.
yeah. They're
Like,
setting it up, dude.
They
did a good
set it
job
up
setting
so
it up.
hard.
Mhm.
Like, God, if I have to hear about Skull Island one more fucking time, like, no. Just
Skull Island.
that's what I
John C.
said.
Riley. He's great in that.
Samuel L. Jackson.
That movie is just Samuel L. Jackson versus King Kong.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
it's great,
just
though.
it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's so nice that now it's
That-
just you and me in the studio at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, because
So we can talk about, you know, this movie was pretty tame, you know.
I love this movie. Yeah, it was great. It was fabulous. It was
Yeah.
very tame. It was kind of like a courtroom drama.
it. Yeah,
It just-
it reminded me a lot of the 12 Angry Men. It was that kind
Yes.
of like going back to that like really subdued, just
Yeah.
pure acting.
Yeah,
with this
pure
movie.
acting. I guess
The
I
emotions are there. It's real.
I kind of saw it as like maybe like a slightly less what is it? No, crap, I'm never going to pull this now. It's like
No,
all the
you got
king
it.
all the King's Men or something. No, it's something that courtroom drama where it's Jack Nicholson, he's got the famous line where it's like you can't handle the truth. But he's like
Chinatown.
Chinatown. You're right. Jack
It's
Nicholson
Definitely Chinatown.
goes you can't
Just
handle
for-
the truth
Give
in
it up,
Chinatown.
Jake. It's Chinatown.
Yeah. That's what I meant. How'd you know?
Because it's just like this movie. This
Just like
movie's
this
also
movie, it's
noir.
subdued. It's a noir. It's
Godzilla's on the case.
Godzilla.
Detective Godzilla
He's honest, like
squishes Detective Pikachu in the beginning of this.
like it's kind of a mind blowing thing that like they released them so quickly after each other that like it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the same plot. Like Godzilla has his tiny little hat. He has
He
a
does.
sidekick.
He's
and
got
the
he
sidekick's
gets a
like
little cowboy hat later. He gets a little crown when
Yeah.
he's king. They're like,
he
here
does.
you go.
He's like, wow, you
king now."
solved the case. And this is just what we do for detectives who solve their cases. We give them a
Become
little,
king.
we give them a little crown, and
Yeah.
they're your king for the day. So it's
You got to give it back to King Kong, though.
you got to give it back to
That's-
King
that's it.
Kong. He's like our ace detective. He's so
Mm-hmm.
great, and so that's what the next movie seems like it's going to be. Is that they're going to be competing to solve the Zodiac killer murders.
Right. It's going to be a
and
buddy cop movie
it is.
with King Kong and Godzilla.
Yep, they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
standing back to back, and they're going to be like this guy, and then they're going to be like
This
this
guy.
guy.
I want that to happen now, for real.
Yeah.
They are cinema's two best friends is a giant lizard and giant monkey.
Yeah,
They
that would
love,
be.
that's the ultimate love-hate relationship right there.
It is. Yeah, that would be incredible.
So let's talk about this movie. Let's
hold
actually
on.
talk about it.
I think we need to revive a segment that we haven't done in a while. And this is gonna be chatting with Grant, seeing how Grant felt about this movie. We all know he's definitely seen it.
Yes. He's the biggest monster fan here.
He is. He loves
Pacific Rim.
He absolutely loves Pacific
accurate.
Rim. Yep. Like dead on.
Accurate.
Dead on. He also like his Princess Bride summary was great. His all his other I can't remember all the ones that he's done.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, his Captain Marvel with like Homer Simpson punching.
Dude, not a lot of people caught the Homer Simpson.
No,
Easter
they didn't.
egg,
Like,
man,
yeah, it was such a good Easter egg. I don't know if he's gonna answer. He doesn't like his phone. Oh boy.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Bummer.
We're gonna leave him a super long voicemail.
It's not available.
No Grant.
No, we're
At the
gonna
tone, please
give
record
him
your
a
message.
crazy ass
When
voicemail.
you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Roar. This is Godzilla calling you from.
Yeah, why don't you answer my calls
answer
anymore?
Why? I mean, that's Mothra talking, obviously.
Yeah, it's Mothra, right?
Yeah. Godzilla, Mothra, and then
Then
what's
Rodan.
another? Rodan. Yeah. You know, we're trying. Caw.
Caw, motherfucker.
Okay, yeah. So
That's
call
enough,
us
Rodan.
back when you get the chance. You know, we want to talk to you on the podcast.
Yeah, come on, Grant.
Yeah, come on, Grant. Okay. We did that. It failed miserably.
Yes.
It'd be great if he called back during the during
I hope so.
the
Yeah.
episode.
Keep him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep a line open.
Okay.
Yeah.
First impressions.
First impressions. Carl Rivers. No, we're starting with you.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
It was good. I did like it. Like you told me, the action for the last half hour was awesome. Just straight fighting. There was a lot of corny lines in this movie.
Have you watched a lot of these kind of movies?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So you're coming out at it with like a fresh mind. You love action movies.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily a monster fan.
Yes.
So this is kind of like the Avengers of monster movies.
Pretty much.
I would say.
Yeah, that's a really accurate statement.
There was also a lot of corny lines in this.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I know that is because I was sitting right next to that guy right there.
Dude, I cannot stop laughing at
And
this until the very the last half of the movie when Wally spoiled something for me that
What did I
ruined
spoil
it.
for you?
The guy who was making all the corny lines is
We'll
supposed
get to that.
to be
We'll get to that.
yeah.
That'll be your what the fuck moment.
That's definitely my what the fuck moment. It ruined everything else he said, and I did not laugh for the latter half of the movie. I didn't at all.
Ruined your enjoyment of this.
But you
Well,
know,
no, you just gave me a different standard by which this character should be measured by,
That's
and they
true.
absolutely failed.
Okay, we will get to that later.
This is a
being very
great
vague,
tease.
but we will
Yeah,
get
this is
to
a
that
great
later.
tease.
but you know they're corny when you're the king of corn, and every time you hear a corny line in the movie, he says the same thing that you to you. Oh my god. Oh my god. And it's in the same
I said
tone.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
It's the same
Oh my God.
same shit. It's in
Finish.
the same tone.
Hurry up.
It's in the
This
same
is
tone.
boring.
Guys, for the people that don't know me, I'm the king of corn.
For
I'm
the
king of
people,
cheese.
for the people
I'm
that
the
don't
king
know
of
me.
popcorn, the king of candy corn, the
Hey,
king
man,
of
you
corn, the
barely touched
vegetable,
that
and the
popcorn.
band.
Yeah.
I'm the king of corn, and I say a lot of corny shit. And him
Does this
saying
get your
Jesus
corny
Christ,
approval.
yes,
You're like,
that
this
character.
is the script Carl Rivers would write.
What
it's
character,
the
Carl?
character.
What character?
that I would be in this movie.
What character was that?
If
Can you remember his name?
I cannot remember his name,
Okay,
They
it's the
said, like,
white
once.
haired guy with the
Yes,
glasses.
yes.
You mean Rick?
Rick.
Carl? Rick?
Rick.
You'd be Rick in this movie?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's once we tease out something that's gonna be my what the fuck moment. Just remember what that name.
Oh, I know
Signifies.
exactly what you're thinking.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the laptop.
Okay, yeah, he knows.
What? What
We'll
last?
get to that later.
Yeah. Okay. Spoilers.
All right.
But
Quinn,
no,
first impressions.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought everything looked spectacular,
Mm-hmm.
and the fight scenes were great. Which is like, I mean, any legitimate critic who can't separate like and like this type of
movie has
movie
been getting
from
pandered
other
by critics, so that's
this
something we
movie
gotta
has
throw
been
out
getting
there.
ripped apart by critics who think that there should be a really good story to a movie like this. But those are probably also the same critics who thought that Endgame was a spectacular triumph of cinematic,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
not. Sorry,
It's
the
kinda
story
like-
is just as rough as any other type of movie like this. Like action is what Endgame, like or any sort of superhero movie. Like you're looking to see action or like cool effects, stuff like that. I don't think you're necessarily looking for a story. Maybe looking for good characters.
I feel because Endgame was like a culmination of like 10 years worth of movies. I think they showed really good character arcs just in that one movie. And it like that is what I liked about Endgame the most is just how we see these characters dealing with like a traumatic incident. Like for the first act in more
Like when you
or
only
less
eat a peanut
realistic
butter
way.
sandwich.
Yeah,
You
get
don't even
fat.
use the fucking jelly like an animal. That's
When did
like
that
that's
happen?
when you.
Is that Thor
that's-
making sandwiches?
No, that's Scarlett Johansson's character. She's just like sitting there after Captain comes back from his therapy session.
Yeah.
And she's just making a peanut butter sandwich with no jelly.
Oh.
Which is like
heathen.
everybody seemed to be so like taken aback by it, like it was so weird. But that's I don't
I
like
do
jelly.
that a
Yeah,
lot,
I don't
yeah.
like jelly. So that's kind of what I do. But yeah, that's when you know there's trauma. It's like I'm just eating peanut butter and bread
Yeah.
like a fucking animal.
They all
No,
should have
but-
just gotten fat in that movie.
No,
Would've
but I
been
think
better.
I think that not being able to distinguish like what this movie is part of a franchise that is like not theme wise that like has cinematically kind of tried to do the same thing, like been consistent. Like you consistently going in, you're gonna know exactly what you're gonna get from this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's always been that way. But where it triumphs is in its special effects. I think this movie, compared to the last one in this series, had a lot more interesting story that kind of connected a little better than the last one did. I think I liked the kind of, you know, these creatures, these titans are now rectifying the actions of humanity.
Yes.
I thought that was really like an interesting thing.
I was saying the first one, it acts more like a 50s sci-fi where the first half an hour it's like, what is this mystery? Like, what is kind of going on? There's like a conspiracy going on that they figure out, oh, it's giant monsters. You kind of get teased throughout that movie, and then you have the fight at the end. So it's more of a classic, like, 50s sci-fi. This, they show, like, these things are essentially gods in this world.
Yeah, and they are like attacking humanity for its wrongs, and which is great. Okay,
My first impressions.
we're gonna be silent for a little bit. Okay, I just want to open that door because it's getting pretty hot in here.
Okay.
So I know when to cut it out. Okay, Wally, what are your first impressions?
Oh, my gosh. All right.
Actually, your second
This-
impressions, because this
First
is the second
and
time you've
second
seen it.
impressions. Okay. The last, the last 30 minutes, yeah, it just, gosh, it really brought out that inner 10-year-old child. Just like, oh, this is what I've always wanted to see in one of these movies, where they take something that is very cheesy, but it is completely fun. Like it's cheesy, it's nonsensical, but I feel it totally embraces that, and for that, it comes out just as something that I feel is just more pure entertainment. It's like a thrill park, like a theme park ride in that way. It's like you're there to have fun first and foremost, and I absolutely had fun with this. I've always loved these characters. Like, it's great to see like these iconic character designs that have been around for 60 years finally realized in like today's technology. It looks great. I think it really turned out like the best it could. I have a few complaints with it, but otherwise, like, this is the movie I've always wanted to see from this franchise.
No, so I want to hear what your complaints are right off the bat. Like,
Okay.
as a
When I
long-time fan of this
a
series.
super fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He has a Godzilla hat sitting on the table right now.
And he has a Godzilla tattoo also on his shoulder.
Yeah,
Yes.
which we'll be posting on our Instagram. So follow
Now, like,
Film
my
wise.
only real problem with this is, like, when I first watched it, it wasn't so much a problem the second time since I was able to see it coming is the plot point of the mom turning out to be a villain of wanting to essentially eradicate mankind. You kind of see that like that's kind of what she wants, but she's like, oh, there's a way we can coexist with these things. Like I think to the average person, like that doesn't make any sense at all. And when I first watched that, I'm like, yeah, there's got to be a way for them to be released, but I feel like maybe there could have been. I feel if they developed that arc more of her really losing her mind because of the loss of her child, it's all kind of implied. I think that scene would have been a lot more impactful. I think it was trying to have that impact, but it didn't quite stick the landing.
I don't know. I can totally see that, like, you know, somebody who is powerless in the face of like this extreme loss, which is like the loss of her son, like kind of going insane and wanting to play God and wanting to like there is and
there are hints to it.
I would say the actress, and maybe it was the writing as well, just wasn't good enough to show her decline, which is kind of what you said. I think it could have been done better. I 100% agree. But I think like it's a realistic beat, and like there was a little bit of a period where I'm like, this is kind of weird, but then once she like fully embraced it,
that's true. Yeah, like initially I'm like, oh, that is kind of weird. They do kind of explain it later. I'm like, okay, it's better than not having it explained at all. And from that point on, like we just keep getting like twist upon twist. I guess like I'll just say spoilers out of the gate. The main bad monster in this is a space alien. That's kind of a throwaway line they use in this, but that's also like within the canon of these like creatures. This is reaching back 60 years worth of like stuff they can pull from, and they pull damn near everything to put in this movie. So it helps with the pacing. It's very fast paced.
Yes.
Like it's a 2-hour movie. It does not feel like a 2-hour movie. It flies by.
I like the funniest thing, and we kind of mentioned this when we were in the theater. The parts, the actual good parts, which is all the monster stuff, that flies by. But then you get this exposition with the like human characters and trying to like figure stuff out and trying to make a storyline. That's where it kind of skids to a halt, and that's where like Wally, you had the great thing, which was like, oh, you know, the humans are on screen, so you can just go to the bathroom. Yep. So, but like I said, like the story, you know, I bet anybody who is actually a really good film critic probably hated the story arc for it, but it was good enough and it was coherent enough compared to other movies like this that I've seen that it's just don't.
Yeah. I will agree with that, and I feel like this is less of a storytelling experience and more of a character piece, like on the monsters themselves. Like I can't really think of too many other monster movies, at least Western monster movies, that actually treat the monsters like characters. Like they're able to emote in this. Like they have loyalties to one another. Like, there's like a hierarchy of like monsters. Like, I mean, kind of a spoiler. Like by the end, it's kind of like a Game of Thrones of monsters. They're like fighting to see who's going to be king. That's essentially
or
what
it's
it kind
just
of boils down to.
Or it's just like pack mentality and whoever.
Yeah, it's what
it's
they
like,
imply.
Well, that's
and you can
they're
also
kind of
like
animals.
put it to like a wrestling mentality. Like Ghidorah's the ultimate heel, Godzilla's the ultimate baby face, and like
you know that face. That recognizable face that's such a baby face. But I love the wrestling comparison. I think it's very similar. It's
this movie had so much fun like with its source material, and they just you get to see all the monsters' powers. Like I love that they used like Mothra's like web spinning attack that's used a lot in the old movies. I wasn't actually expecting them to do that in this movie. They're like, oh, we got you. We got Easter eggs out of the wazoo for this movie.
Yeah. And I liked how Mothra was kind of like this arc of this, like, oh, like they're not just monsters. Like they made right away, like one of the first scenes is like the mom and daughter interacting with baby Mothra, and they kind of have this moment of like, oh, like you're not just a monster, you can be something else. Like you do have this like you see this like good monster, I guess, or good Titan, and then when you see the bad one, when they finally resurrect him, that's when shit hits the fan, and
it's very clear, like you can kind of see right off the gate, like the alliance of these monsters. Like when Ghidorah shows up, you're like, that's the bad guy.
Yeah,
like,
you can tell.
The bad guy.
Yeah, and he just looks so cool coming out of that ice field. Like it's so well done, and
I love that they gave all of his. He has 3 heads. They gave each of the heads the personality. It's clear that the middle head is like the alpha, the one in charge, and there's like the head to the left that at first is like sniffing the humans while they're like shooting at it. He's just curious, and the other one's like, "Come on," like nudges him like, "Oh, we got to fight these things."
Okay, because I always saw like the left head. Well, if you're looking at it. The right head, the one that gets chopped off, as being like the gluttonous one. He's always the one who's trying to like get at like the things that it can eat, and then the main guy is always putting him in his place, saying, "I'm the alpha, I eat first." And then when he gets his head ripped off, you can kind of see it. Like the first thing that regenerates is the super long tongue, and then the head kind of forms around that. So I'm like, oh, that's a cool little.
Yeah, I thought that was cool
and
too.
like when it's. If you kind of compare it to like the gluttonous one who kind of is just like always looking to get food and stuff like that, it's kind of the tongue being that like, I don't know.
Look at that, critics. There is material here,
guys.
You can look into this.
Suck it, critics. If you think a little bit about these monsters.
No, that was a great scene, like with the head coming back. That was body horror that's like not really like in this kind of series, but like it totally fit.
Well, and it's the same thing with, if we're going to jump ahead a little bit, that end scene with a really great, like, twist.
Just talking to the
that was so great.
Post-credit? Yeah.
No, not the post-credit. No. I'm talking about at the end where you see the head of, what's the creature? I can never... Ghidorah?
Ghidorah or Monster Zero is what...
Monster Zero, okay. I'm not...
calling that.
Monster Zero, you see the head and it's kind of moving like it's still alive. And then it's
in Godzilla's mouth.
That's the thing is that it's like it slowly rises up, and it turns out Godzilla has the head and the neck in his mouth, and is just eating it, and it's like wriggling like it's almost still alive, and it's that twist where like you go, oh shit, it's still alive.
Yeah, great monster trope. And
I mean that was such a badass and it looks so kind of gruesome, and he's crunching at it and. You see, like, the light blue in his skin, and then also, like, the red. I will say,
like, I'm just going to throw this out there. Do you think this is a good movie for kids?
Oh, no. I mean, okay. I will say, so when we went there was this little kid in the row ahead of us with his dad.
Because I feel that's where this movie kind of lives or dies. It's like, is this going to be, like, a good thing for kids to watch?
Well, do you think that the last movie in this series was a good kids movie? Because I say it was a little dark, it was a little scary, and it was a little jump scary.
This one was more of a kids movie than the last one.
I can agree with that just because there's more monsters and stuff, and you kind of get more backstory to it. But I still think that there's enough. It's dark enough, it's scary enough, and it's like kind of brutal enough. There's a lot of death in here. Like, I mean,
that's true, and it's almost. I feel like with monsters, you can kind of get away with that. Like they try to do the same, like with DC and like Marvel, and it's like then they have to like these are actually humans that have to like stand for what they did. They like destroyed an entire city.
Yeah.
This like the way like
they
it's kind of a kid. They
can't.
Could imagine like, oh, I'm the giant monster like running around the city. You're not really thinking about like.
Wait, the kids are imagining that?
That's what I did.
Holy shit. Power trip.
Yeah, that's where this kind of comes in. It's essentially combining dinosaurs and superheroes, which is, I feel like, one of the biggest draws that was always to this franchise, at least in the later ones, where it's like, oh, it's a monster fighting another monster. It always felt like it's combining dinosaurs and superheroes together.
So, when you're watching Jurassic Park, are you getting the same thing? Like, oh, I want to be the T-Rex, or is there a separation?
Not in the first one, the first Jurassic Park. I feel that is still like it's still more of a thrill ride. I do feel with the newer Jurassic Parks, like they had the T-Rex like team up with a rat at one point. That does feel very superhero.
But like you said, you imagine yourself destroying like these things. Did you see yourself like as being a dinosaur in Jurassic Park and stuff? Because I feel like even if there's superheroes, I never, even when as a kid when I saw Jurassic Park, I was never like, oh, I want to be the superhero or I want to be the dinosaur. So like it's a peculiar thing.
Right. It's like if you were a kid that was into dinosaurs, you played with a bunch of dinosaurs, and it's like, you kind of, I don't know, reenacted parts of Jurassic Park, like just through action figures and stuff. And I think in this, it's more of like, you had that segue of like, oh, it's a monster, but it's also like a superhero.
Yeah.
Essentially at the same time.
But also, do you think, so when you were a kid, did you know, it was pretty still apparent that it was just a dude in a rubber suit and he was destroying like a bunch of miniatures and stuff? Did you?
I feel like with a kid, like you just have a lot of imagination. Like just imagine the toys you would play with. It's like some of them are not the most articulated thing, but you're like, oh, with your imagination, it could like really be anything. Like with this, what I was worried about, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be left to your imagination at all. It's like we can finally show you everything that you could have possibly imagined, like as a child, is put on the screen, including
death. Which I feel like, because as a kid, there was definitely times where I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to like destroy buildings and stuff? But like, I never as a kid was thinking like, oh, there's people in that building. It's not just like an empty building. Which I think the old movies, at least like from what I've seen, because it's like a dude in a rubber suit destroying miniatures. Yeah. Like there's more of the ability to just say, oh, no, there's no people in there.
Or it's not the case. There's plenty of the old movies where like it's very clear that people are dying.
But like if they're filming like a dude just destroying miniature buildings and stuff like that, like is there a disconnect in that? Like, there might be people dying. Like, I mean, in Jurassic Park,
real. Well, I mean, it's
like you straight up see like one of the heads of that Monster Zero just bite down on like a group of 10 dudes running away on the ice and just totally eviscerate them. Then there's the Mothra picks a dude up and whips him against the wall.
He got stuck on the web. He's fine.
Okay.
I was waiting for
rationalize
her to, like,
it all you
like eat him or something.
Rationalize it all you need to, but I can't imagine that.
I guess that is something that you realize more when you're an adult, is just kind of the amount of human life that's just kind of thrown away at the expense of like spectacle. It's like and it's always going to be kind of weird, but like it comes from a place where originally like these movies were originally meant to be an allegory of atomic bomb, so it was meant to be scary.
So you wanted to be the atomic bomb. You imagined yourself as the atomic bomb. No, you imagined yourself as Godzilla.
I didn't know he was an allegory for an atomic bomb.
Still. You wanted to be the atomic force that was destroyed.
When you're older.
I'm just being an asshole. I'm sorry. No, so I guess, we kind of
are still our first impressions.
We're kind of freeforming right now because I don't know where we want to jump from here, because
we should say the log line or the plot at this point, because we're kind of going all over the place.
So I mean, it's just, I think your summary of Game of Thrones is actually like it is good. It is a good thing, or it's just like,
so there's two arcs in this movie. One is like all these humans are getting together for a redemptive arc of like, what do we do like with these titans? Our world's completely changed, so we got to do something about this. Do we kill them or do we let them live? That's ultimately the plot on the human side. Now on the monster side, it's like, okay, we got to find someone who's like going to be in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think,
and we had to fight the false king or false leader.
Exactly. I think very early on, or like about halfway through the movie, the whole idea of like, should we kill them or should we like save them, gets kind of thrown out the window, and it just turns into like, how will we save the good guys?
Yeah,
like how will we save the people that care about the earth instead of killing this, or instead of like this alien who has seized power.
They do team up with Godzilla at the end. Like you do see, like he's walking in, and then the jets are like following suit, like behind him. So it's like, okay, this is the good guy.
Yep.
So
this is the American man.
Yeah.
Classic standoff. I guess it's very much like, which is funny, we might review it a little later, like a Lion King type movie.
Yeah.
Like it's
I wasn't really expecting that.
That's just any kind of royalty movie or any kind of like secession movie.
Yeah, it helps with the lore of this, like I mean, you get the hierarchy. You also see like where these creatures essentially live. They live underground. They have all these like deep caverns. Like we essentially see a lost city under the ocean. So
there's a hollow Earth.
There's a hollow Earth. It's like
scenario.
It's Atlantis essentially is where Godzilla lives. Like they have like
they have worshipped him.
As silly as it is, there's like cave paintings or like pictures of Godzilla on the wall. It's like this is all very silly, but they like fully embrace that. They're like, this is kind of what we're going to have to do if we're going to like make this kind of make sense in the first place. It's going to be cheesy, but you're aiming for it or you're not.
I think that there are like theories about whether or not that's like conspiracy theories about whether or not there are things like this. And so I think it's just
they did like go into like they showed like, oh, we get the Hydra from this from
all
Monster
these
Zero's like he's able to reach, he's essentially a Hydra.
It's like we have all of these myths but about like
there's
creatures
like some
like
cave
this.
paintings where it's like, oh, that is clearly just Godzilla.
And they're like, he's evolved and he's changed, but it's the same drawing of Godzilla since like the very earliest period. So it's like, no, he hasn't evolved or changed. He's been looking the same and doing his thing his entire existence.
But maybe the way he changed was through the radiation of
his emotions.
Like
he's grown as a person.
Sure.
No, but okay, that is like the interesting thing that I was kind of confused about is like early on in the movie, there's an interaction between Godzilla and Monarch, which is the government organization that's trying to like figure out what to do with these creatures, where he's like glowing.
The shield of this
universe. They're the shield, exactly. That's true. And he's like glowing and like doing his little alpha thing.
Great. Yeah.
That was what?
That was great.
Oh yeah, I thought it was so cool. But what he was doing, like it seemed like he had like a way of, he couldn't speak, but he was communicating with them in some way to like establish, like he swam to them. He went away from his normal routes to come to them, and he swam around them and like kind of told them, hey, there's something going on. I need help.
Yeah.
So like there's this communication between.
It was kind of a call.
Well, it was like a little, like he has some more intellect than I think a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Like they just think he's a big dumb animal, but there's like, he's doing things deliberately. And so I
what were you confused about?
Why they haven't learned to communicate with him like you think he would have some sort of language or something.
They did more studying than anything else. I think there's still that disconnect, like, oh, this thing could really just kill us if it wanted to.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of hard to, like, go that extra mile, like, oh, now... Because they did show they had this machine where they're able to, like,
replicate the sounds and the calls of these monsters.
So to, like, soothe them and everything. So they do understand, they're like, oh, we are trying to communicate with them. But it's just a matter of, like... how to do that, I guess, is it the right thing to do? Like, there's a lot of, like, I guess, moral quandaries, like, with that.
Yeah, but also him just, like, stomping around destroying stuff willy-nilly, like, doesn't seem like an intelligent, like, unless he's actively trying to do that, which, from what we see, it doesn't seem like that. It just seems that they end up fighting in cityscapes.
Okay, when I was going to say, like, I had minor gripes, I guess, like, so I said the part of the humans, like, there's two things, like, with the monsters that I've heard, like, some big fans kind of say that I also kind of agree with. There should have been more scenes of, like, if you have the bad monster just going around and actually, like, destroying buildings. We don't see too much of that, of him, like, just rampaging through a city.
Yeah. You see cutscenes of like him controlling the other kaiju to do that.
To
Like you
kinda
see
do
it
that,
throughout
but-
the world.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see like an uncut scene of that.
Yeah.
Because that would have been an homage to like the older movies. Because like in those movies, like there's a few that have like this exact same plot line where he's gonna fight Monster Zero, but they show like uncut like scenes that would span on for like 2-3 minutes of it just flying by like destroying cities and stuff.
Yeah.
Which
Like getting instead of, and I think that was, I don't know why, but I think they were trying to avoid that just because it was probably going to end up being super costly.
I think that's a part
Because
of it.
I mean, Monster Zero was only in the movie for about, like, his physical appearance is only in the movie for maybe like 20 minutes or not
Yeah.
like 30
half
to
an
35
hour,
minutes,
yeah.
something like that, because they hid him in a storm for a lot of his like traveling stuff. Like apparently once he came out of the ice, he immediately turned into, or he created a storm with which to hide himself in. And so I think that
is a cost-effective thing because like this movie was like 200 million. It's shown all over the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will say like there's definitely some cost-effective things, and I think my next gripe also might be a cost-effective thing too. I do, since they are making another one, I'm very excited for that after seeing this movie. I hope there's more battles during the day where we can get a better look at these monsters. I do feel like with the old movies, like the last battle is always at night. And that's always like, how you make the epic like final battle. It should be at night. But I think there could be like, they have like 3 different
Monday
fights in
Night
this. They have
Raw.
one in the Antarctic, one in the ocean, and then one in the city. Like one could have been during the day.
Yeah. And there was like one very short, no, relatively short scene of like the, what's his name? The Firebird coming out of
that
the
was
mountain,
during the day,
which was during the day, but there wasn't actually a lot of like fighting. It was just mostly him destroying airplanes as opposed to like creatures fighting each other.
I'm glad they still like did that. I would say like that was a scene where like even watching it this second time, like I still thought it was like pretty tense.
Yeah,
actually,
it was
like,
definitely
you see him,
tense
like
because
he is picking these things off one by one, and he's like eating people that are trying to like flee away and stuff. So it's
and
like,
you see like the 2 soldiers like save the mother and son, and like the kids barely like there is like stakes to this like this bird, and the fact that they're like flying around, like there's airplanes flying around him and trying to
one guy-
city destruction. I
The
just
one guy
kinda wish there was more of
evacuates
that.
and then just flies right into his mouth.
yeah.
That
That's
was great.
that was pretty on the nose, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it definitely showed like this really like fear-based reaction of humans to like kind of like do whatever you can, even if it's gonna like destroy, because they destroyed like so many airplanes in that just to get that creature out away from the town so that they could evacuate it. I
Like-
thought, what?
I don't know. Like, I love that, like, okay, always in these monster movies when it's just one monster, it's like, oh, the military can do everything. They can take the monster down. The logic is, let's just steer it in the way to the other monster and hope they just both kill each other.
Yep.
It's like,
It's
that's
just
the entire
like,
logic to this.
oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
it's- that's what you would. Once all of these things have been released, it's like
Like,
there's
just make them
nothing
fight
we
each
can do.
other,
Like,
yeah.
maybe they'll attack each other, and then we find out that that's
Okay, so
not the right way to
guess,
go.
we're going into, like, good and bad. Like, what were some of your good points in this movie, Carl?
All the monster fights, the CGI was great.
Did you have a favorite monster?
Yeah. What's your favorite monster?
Oh.
What monster do you identify with?
I do love Godzilla. Like
Yeah, he
all,
was really good in
the
that.
colored of the
He was
the
he's such a
scales,
good actor.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Just have
blue
one
and
just breathe in space. It's
I don't know
just-
how you train a monster like that to do anything, but like they
Dude.
got him down. They got him trained, and he's just
I'm sure he's
killing
not
it.
bad though.
Oh yeah, you can't help that with those
Yeah,
giant
no.
thumps.
But I also loved Monster One. That like
Zero.
Monster
Ghidorah,
Zero,
it's
yeah.
King Ghidorah.
King Ghidorah.
Not anymore,
Okay.
bitches.
'Cause-
Falling King
Because I did love
Ghidorah.
the CGI effect of like when he was about to shoot the lightning, you see
Yeah,
like the
you do
yellow
get
going up the
Very
neck
good
and throat.
anticipation in this. It's like when you're about to see them like shoot their lightning or something. It's like, and they're actually like, what was missing in the other one? You do see like Ghidorah's like, oh, I'm a little bit smarter than just standing in the way of your like fire breath. He does dodge at one point.
Yeah, he
to
does.
get out of the way.
Yep. And really, the only other time Godzilla hits him is when it's like he's distracted by other things. Is like is like when he's going after the humans, and then all of a sudden Godzilla comes in and Sonic waves him at the end.
That's true. Just
Like,
bio drives him.
Yeah, like there is like an intelligence to Monster Zero that
they're both
Godzilla.
like clearly
they're evenly matched. So Carl, how do you think? So seeing that like cool effect with the lightning and stuff. So do you think this bodes well to a live action remake of Pokemon 2000?
Yeah,
Because
I could totally see it.
I
could totally see it.
You see the fire monster, you
yeah.
see the electricity monster, and
Detective Pikachu plus like this Godzilla movie. I could totally see that.
Oh my
God.
I could totally
it'd
see
be
it.
so cool because Godzilla is basically Lugia. He's got the like blue shine to him and all the like powers and stuff. Like I
all
think
he's
it'd be
missing is wings.
You mean Lugia's basically Godzilla?
no.
Come on. He came first.
What
But
came
then
first?
I also did love
chicken or the
this-
chicken.
I did love the scene of the Firebird coming out of the volcano. I
That was
did
so
also
sweet.
love
That was brutal.
King Ghidorah, like
There
taking
you go.
There you go,
taking
cutie.
Godzilla all the way up into the sky and then just dropping him.
Oh, dude, that was
the
brutal.
silliest scene. I love that too. Like when he falls on his
Wally
back.
turned to me
I
and
was-
was like, "This is so ridiculous."
When I saw that
this
scene,
massive thing,
Yeah.
just being flown up and dropped.
when I saw that scene, I was like, "Oh my god, he's doing a seismic toss attack." I'm thinking of like Charizard doing like a seismic
dude.
toss to
Dude,
another
it just
Pokemon,
looked
and then
like
boom.
it looks so cool. Like this.
Where do you think Charizard got it, Carl? Where do you think?
Yeah,
All right?
Carl, where do you think?
Everything you love comes from this.
That's not inaccurate.
It-
like,
no,
that's
it's
very
not. It-
true.
it
I'm sure
is.
Godzilla was a huge inspiration for Pokemon.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's okay. So Wally, goods and bads, or I guess we'll do goods and then we'll skip right back to bads.
Yeah, all the personalities of the monsters. I feel you get enough screen time with each of the like monsters that you know and love, and they also like they introduce new monsters. They don't get a lot of screen time, but it's like it's nice for them to be like not afraid to like invent their own stuff and like really build this world out.
Yeah.
Can you name all the monsters that were in there that maybe didn't get a lot of screen time?
They, as far as I know, those ones don't have names. I think they named some of them at the end. Like I think the mammoth-looking one is like the Behemoth Titan. I think is what they call that one.
Yeah. Or yeah, I think that's probably right.
So there was a lot of speculation, like with the spider one, there is a Godzilla spider in the series, but like I'm pretty sure it's not that one.
Okay.
Doesn't look anything like it. There's also a burrowing monster, which we do see in this, and people thought it again was another Godzilla monster. Not confirmed whether that's. Yeah, there's just a lot of new monsters, and I did love that. The fight scenes are great. And I do feel by the end, like I actually do care about like the family. Like by the end, I feel like there's enough kinetic action of them like actually like helping Godzilla out and like helping their own plot and the plot we care about, which is about the monsters. So there is like enough like kinetic action where it's like going back and forth by the end. Like I feel I at least actually did care of like what was going to happen to those characters.
Yeah, like the mom sacrificing herself at the end, I thought was like it kind of.
It was her redemptive.
Yeah,
arc.
it
like,
was, and it kind of needed to happen. I feel like if she would have just
she would have been like I don't know, tried for like treason or just like
well, and it was more
endangering,
realistic because if she had just hopped on the bird and they'd flown away and then Monster Zero just followed them, like there's no way he wouldn't catch them.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is more realistic. Somebody did have to go.
And I guess that's another thing. Like I do really like the vehicle. Yeah, I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah,
I do like the vehicles in this. Like the Argo jet. Like they have a lot of cool things where like they're building this like world outside of just the monsters. Like I do like the whole idea of Monarch and like the different like.
Yeah, it's
I
just
hope they-
Shield. It
yeah, it's
really
just
is.
Shield.
It
I hope,
100%
Their aircraft did remind me of the
what's the helicarrier?
what's it called? Yeah.
not the helicarrier,
Quinjet?
but the yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and there is stuff like that in the original Godzilla. There's like tanks that have like shoot out electricity. So I hope like maybe they'll introduce that in the next one.
Well, they had guns that did that at the beginning. They had guns that shot out electric charges at Mothra in the beginning. So,
Yeah,
like,
those on
yeah,
a
it was
smaller
like a
scale.
teaser,
probably
yeah.
going. It's
Yeah.
probably going to like continue on that way too. I wouldn't doubt
true,
it.
Yeah. So I guess my favorite thing overall is just like the world building and like the faithfulness to this franchise.
Yeah. I don't want to say anymore. I feel like we have talked a lot about the good, and the
good,
bad
yeah.
here, but just as a summary, yeah, I really like the woolly mammoth. But I was gonna ask you something, but now I can't for the life of me remember what it was. I got distracted.
Well, he asked like if I knew is it the names or like
No, I
No.
don't. Maybe I'll remember it. Hopefully, I
Okay.
will. I thought it was a compelling, thing to ask you. But yeah, I guess off the top of my head, I can't for the life of me.
All right.
Can't remember.
want to go into the bad?
Yeah. Well, you already summarized a little bit of your bad.
Yeah,
But do you have a lot more?
I will say like I do completely understand if this movie's not for you. It is complete nonsense.
Yeah, just
And-
go in. People need to go in. If you're going to go see this movie, go in with no expectation, or just like
That's why,
Just-
like, I feel it embraces a very like childlike nature of like approaching this kind of source material, of just like this power fantasy of being like a monster and a superhero, and a lot of like the logic is just thrown to the wayside in this. So like, I guess I can see that as a bad. For me, I've been watching these movies for a very long time, so it's exactly what I was expecting. So.
But are they any worse than like John Wick?
That was another
like
thing,
it just
too, I
feels
was
like a
thinking
video
about.
game.
Yeah.
John Wick's
I
story
feel
is just
John
as
Wick
confusing.
was-
and
Like the action in that is maybe like it's a little bit more, obviously it's more realistic, it's practical, so maybe like I think that's easier for people to get into for sure. I do feel like
it's
the
a gimmick
story
movie.
in that is kind of pretentious of him just like staying alive. Like there by the end I don't really like he's just surviving to survive at this point, which I guess like by the end of the day is what we're all trying to do. But I'm like, oh, I feel like it was trying to go like somewhere else with that, but it really doesn't.
Staying alive.
He's
you
gonna
go.
die in the next one. Dude.
But no, I think it's
The
it's
death
a,
of John Wick.
it's a similar gimmick type movie, whereas like this is a gimmick of like giant kaiju monsters.
Yeah.
That's a gimmick of practical effects
yeah.
and like interesting like choreographed fights. Like it's
I think one is way more accepted than the other. That's kind of what
but
it comes down to.
That is my argument. Is like why? Why are we accepting something like John Wick and then bashing
Yeah.
Godzilla for being
I mean,
childish
I
or
feel
being
that's
incomplete or being
the same way, like even the older movies, like
everybody hates hentai. Why?
yeah, they gotta love hentai. There's just like I guess less of a human connection that you could make initially with these movies. That's why like when it comes to a kid, it's like they want to be like anything they can be, and like for a kid, it's like oh this thing is top dog. For one, it's a dinosaur. I keep hammering in this point, but I guess I'll just keep saying like a dinosaur and a superhero. It's like would be a dream for like
a duper hero.
Superhero.
A duper.
Super duper hero.
Super duper hero. No,
So
see,
I've said
that's-
my bad.
I'm like
curious about your guys'
very
bad.
confused about your logic because even seeing those when I was younger, I never was like, damn, I want to be Godzilla. Like
Yeah.
that's a very
guess that-
interesting take, which is
Well,
cool.
like, when-
I never
yeah.
thought about it that way. It's
Yeah.
cool as hell.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I
That's
guess
awesome.
like
I mean, when I
I
was
could
a kid, I
extend
was
this-
like, I want to be a Power Ranger.
yeah, that's
you
what I
know?
was just gonna ask. Like,
yeah, it's like I want to
that's
fight
kind of
those
the-
giant
yeah.
monsters.
Yeah,
But
I want my Zord, you know?
yeah, but I never looked at it
Yeah.
from that vantage point, which is an interesting take on it. And like, I
Yeah.
definitely, if I was a kid who thought, oh, I want to be Godzilla, like, dude, I'd be obsessed with these movies. Like, that's that. I
yeah,
just
I
didn't.
did see like a lot of the cheesier ones where like they were starting to definitely be more geared towards children, which like, and this one I feel is falling in that same vein. It's like he's the good guy. Like he didn't always start off as the good guy. Like he's the allegory of just like destruction and man's hubris of like trying to control nature and everything. But it does come to a certain point where like Japan's a nation where they're like, oh, we can own that and turn something that's a fear of ours or that was like against us, like for us. So like it's a character that's like you can make evil and you can make good. It's just I think that's a very versatile like allegory like surrounding this like entire franchise.
But I think this movie's a little more complex. Like, yes, there is that baseline that, like, as a kid, you could probably pick up on that. Like, he's the good guy, there's bad guys. But also, you have to remember, like, after seeing the last movie where he, like, did destroy, like he was super destructive. And, like, there is, like, that level of, like, the reason he's not going around destroying humanity
he wasn't, like,
and balancing...
he was trying to get to the other monsters, and like things were in the way, and it's like
in this
he
story,
wasn't like it wasn't like you could see this like creature like getting like being gleeful about destroying things, which is what you get with the other monsters.
But in this movie, you learn that like Godzilla is a balancing force. Like he's meant to balance the natural world. So like even if like in this, it's kind of like if we're gonna jump back to like the Game of Thrones thing, or like ancient stuff, like this is England. So if we're France, if humanity is France,
I like how deep we've delved into this.
That's the fun part about this. But if you think like during the Middle Ages and stuff like that, England and their like internal strife and all like the War of the Roses and stuff like that, which is what Game of Thrones is based off of. It's like that was just a bunch of people fighting each other, which is like this is Godzilla fighting all the other members of his kaiju family or group for dominance. But then as soon as that turns away, like, well, I guess it kind of breaks down because in the end of like the War of the Roses, Henry Tudor comes in from France, but it would be more like if Henry Tudor won the War of the Roses and then was just like, okay, now that that's settled, now that I have control of my island, I'm going to branch out and attack everything else and like fix all the stuff that in the rest of the world that I've been neglecting since this fight. So like, I think once everybody...
sounds like what Daenerys tried to do.
Well, yeah, exactly. So like once everybody is put into... Once my own clan is put back into order, that's when the real shit's going to break down. That's when he's going to go back to basically doing the same stuff that he should be doing, which is balancing the earth. But now we know...
I think there is maybe a subtle, not so subtle hint by then. They're like, when he just obliterates Ghidorah, like one guy's like, Jesus, I'm glad he's on our side, and then the woman's like, for now.
Yeah,
so I think
that was a great like foreshadowing. Yeah. But like that's kind of the interesting part about this world that I think a kid would never think twice about. They're just thinking about the cool monster. It's like it is a battle, it is people fighting, but then at the end you have to think, oh well, like what's gonna happen when the ball drops and we're left with just this one creature or this group of creatures that are now banded together and stronger than ever coming to get us.
And that's why I think it's interesting that they're pitting him against King Kong. Like these, both of them up to this point have been shown as the good monster. Well, like back in the day,
wait, King Kong was a good monster?
Yeah, like you're always supposed. Yes, he was a good monster. Like there's always in the Kong movies, there's that sense like, okay, he's an ape, but he can still like to some point be able to understand the emotions of humans. Like he's able to connect like with people to a certain degree. Like he still has that kind of human nature. Like he's smart enough to have that. And I think they kind of showed that like with Godzilla too, not as much. So like with it, the old movie, like King Kong was definitely the good guy because I think that was the more popular monster at the time. Like Godzilla was still a pretty new movie when they made like the original King Kong versus Godzilla. So in this one, like it'll be interesting because I heard there's going to be a definitive winner. It's not going to be a draw or anything like that. So it's going to be like one or the other. So it's going
to be Godzilla.
It's probably going to be Godzilla.
Sorry, King Kong, you're cool. You don't have the clout. Like, Jesus, this guy can shoot fucking laser beams out of his mouth. So, we've been talking for a very long time.
I could keep going.
That's the thing is that, like, we're delving into some really cool stuff.
So do you think after the next movie, which is, like you said, going to be King Kong versus Godzilla, do you think we'll ever see Mecha Godzilla?
That is my question. That I totally forgot about that. Is that that skull, you see like a cat. I don't know if it's a cast of Godzilla's face, but you see a face that looks just like Godzilla in that subterranean, that like base thing.
Yeah.
Are they going to make basically
So
make
that
armor
thing-
for Godzilla that he's going to like? He's still going to be Godzilla, but he's basically going to get some of the powers of Godzilla, or Mecha
Yeah.
Godzilla. Sorry.
I know where you're like coming from with that. Like that's the head of the monster he killed the last movie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it looked just like Godzilla. So I'm like, huh.
Yeah,
But,
I guess it's kind of decayed.
Are we talking
and
about
everything.
that end credit scene now?
No. This is at
No.
like the very
This
beginning
is
when they first
where
go
they
to
go
that.
into
okay.
their like headquarters. Like you get to see they like have a head of some giant thing. That's the
Okay.
monster from the last movie.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it looked silvery, so I'm like, oh, is that like a mask or something?
Right. Yeah. No, I could
But-
totally see that, and that's funny because like okay, there's like 3 different Mechagodzillas. One of them is made
This
by
is the best. I
one
love
of them
this.
is made by the humans, and like the way they make it is they take the skeleton of the original Godzilla and they put a robot on top of that. And like when Godzilla roars, somehow that awakens something in the skeleton for Mechagodzilla to turn against the humans for a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's. I do feel like, okay, this movie went balls to the wall. So where do you go up from here? And I would be like, yeah, you add mechs. To
Yeah,
this
you
world.
gotta.
I think that's the only way you kind of top this is to add we got to be able to defend them like on our terms, like in a similar way. So it would be giant robots. It becomes Pacific Rim.
Yeah,
essentially.
because you are like all of the stuff that like the progress they made in like accepting Godzilla and stuff like that. I got a feeling that's gonna like immediately get flipped on its head as soon as he
Especially
goes
since
back
the
to what he
main
usually
guy
does.
rooting for Godzilla
Is
like
dead now.
died to
straight up like
resurrect
gave him a
Godzilla.
little fist bump on
Yeah.
his nosy nose
give him a little kiss.
and
like,
yeah,
"Good night,
bid
my sweet
farewell
prince."
in a
Yeah.
nuclear explosion.
And I like that you
What?
had the same idea.
Why
You're like,
didn't
oh,
they feed it to him?
He was too tired, dude.
I can't
He's like,
open
I'm
my mouth.
already like
That's
kind
when
of dead. That's what I thought they were gonna do too. Oh, they're gonna feed it to him now, just blow it up. They blew up his home.
Yeah, they
dude.
blew up his entire
Yeah.
home. They like wrap it in like a bunch of like deli meats and give it to him.
That would have been funny.
I would have.
Oh god.
Yeah, or like the dead fish. They get a whole bunch of dead fish.
Oh
and,
no!
like,
Then
put
you
a
have
pill in
like
dead
then it's like the
fish.
Matthew Broderick
Yeah,
Godzilla. That's
it
exactly
100%
what they
is.
did.
Yeah.
Just fed him fish. Nah, dude.
Come on, that
Don't
would have
wanna
been
do
pretty
that.
funny. Okay, Carl. What's your bad?
Yeah, I am curious. I think we
Yeah,
have been
the-
hammering in this story, like
But the
yeah.
the story is fine for what it is. You gotta accept it.
Like,
because you
for-
said
for
like this
someone
movie's good, so you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
what are you coming at where you're like, oh, that could have been better, maybe?
Yeah,
or
what do
I
you-
don't
And
really
it's-
care
it-
for
it-
that.
It's probably the human aspect, like we've been talking about.
Okay.
I mean, for someone like me that doesn't know anything about Godzilla, you know, and
For someone like me who doesn't know
As-
anything about human interaction, how
Yeah,
could this?
that too.
No.
No.
That was me saying that. Like,
That's why he liked the monsters.
I
He got
love the
it.
monsters.
He got it.
Yep.
but also having no expectation, you know, whatsoever, open mind going.
That is
into it.
interesting. Yeah, just going
know.
into this blind. Like,
That's exactly what I did because I didn't even know that Kong Skull Island like wove
Was
into
connecting
this.
to this, yeah.
I had no idea. I thought that was like its own separate.
and they
thing.
tried really hard. They're like, remember Kong? He's in this universe.
There was
Don't
there was
forget
so
Kong.
many references to it.
It's like
That's why
3
I had
times.
to
It's like,
ask
why would
you.
anyone really care?
Yep.
And that's why I had to ask you at the end of the movie. You know, is Kong a part of this? And then you were like, yeah, and I'm like, oh shit. But
Yeah.
you know, for
Like,
someone that has no idea about this stuff, I did enjoy the movie. You know, I mean, I thought it was a good movie. You know, it wasn't bad, but it didn't catch my eye like it does yours. You know, saying it's
That's
a great
fair.
movie. You know,
Yeah.
so to me, it was just a good movie. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess we'll quickly jump into what the fuck facts and then go into our rating, or what the
Okay.
fuck like moments.
Yeah.
I can't remember what mine was.
It's Rick.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah. So okay, let me fucking.
I do agree.
break
This is the
shit
like,
down.
yeah.
This is the worst.
God damn
so
it. It's so bad.
I was laughing at this guy's jokes all the time.
And
like,
then I
it was
brought
so
this up,
great.
yeah.
And then like halfway through the movie, Wally's like, you know that character's supposed to be based on Rick from Rick and Morty. I'm like, oh, so like that completely changes the metric of like
how funny he should
how
be.
funny he should be and how like self-aware and how like interesting and ridiculous. And it totally ruined the character for me. All of his jokes were just like, oh, fuck this guy. Like after knowing he's supposed to be Rick and he's just making dad jokes. That's not fucking Rick.
Yeah.
Rick doesn't make dad jokes. Rick makes fucked up jokes about how he hates himself and wants to drink himself into depression.
I do want to see Godzilla in the new season of Rick and Morty.
That would be great.
They gotta put him in.
Yeah, that would be
Get
sweet.
the continuity going.
It's just
They're
like,
oh, that shitty movie. They didn't get me right.
It's
They treated
just
me
like
a
this.
grandpa.
It's just like The Simpsons, where all they do is that like Rick and Morty use the time machine spacecraft and just go straight through Godzilla, and Godzilla just dies.
Yeah,
That's like the new intro.
Let me ask you, because I don't watch Rick and Morty.
Okay.
That is
That's
a
insane.
mature audience show,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
100%.
do you think a character like that? Because you said he was supposed to be based off of him. If he was
Apparently, that's
assume
an
more-
Easter egg. Yeah.
if he was more like Rick in the,
It wouldn't be okay.
No.
the rating would
couldn't
have to
do that.
shoot up then, wouldn't it? Because this was a PG-13 movie.
I mean, they
right?
didn't even make him a drunk. Like that guy could have been a crazy drunk.
He could have he didn't
could
even
have
have
at
like
least
a
had a
flash
flash.
or
Yeah.
something like.
Where it's just like every bad thing that
If
happens.
you
he's
want
just
the
drinking
bare
more.
minimum to make that character Rick, just have him take a swig from a
Or
flask. I'd
burp.
be like, yeah.
Or burp once, damn it.
Is that too much on the nose? Then it's
What,
like,
him
oh, that's
burp?
clearly just Rick.
No, because
Then-
I feel like I didn't understand. Like they said his name once. Like if he was just
Yeah.
this like nervous, fidgety guy who every time something bad happened, he just automatically was just like, well, fuck it, and then took a big swig of like.
Yeah,
Like, that's
the
a
perfect
trope in
moment
a lot
to
of
do that is like
characters.
when Godzilla scares him, then like swims away. He should have taken the swig then.
Well, I was gonna say like when the guy's like open up the blast shield, and he's like, what? And then he's like, yeah, do it. And then he does it, and then he goes, well, fuck it, and then takes a huge drink,
Yeah.
and like that would have been at least it would have been a little bit more
Gosh.
like Rick.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't try and capture that character. I don't know why they would even do that. I guess it was probably just like, we like
such a
it.
weird
It's good.
choice. Yeah, it's like one thing. Like there is like a bunch of other Easter eggs to like different franchises. Like the machine they use to communicate with the monsters, Orca, is the name of the ship in Jaws.
Yep.
And with all the different
It's
outposts,
a killer whale.
like the one where Ghidorah's at is like an Arctic outpost called Outpost 32. That's a reference to the horror movie The Thing. It takes place in Outpost 32.
Yes. Wally was sharing all this awesome insight. Okay,
Yeah.
Carl, what's your what the fuck moment?
Ooh.
Ooh.
It
It's,
would definitely
so
have to
horny.
be the Firebird coming out of the volcano, because I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's just it
and
looked
then-
like Pompeii. Like that movie with
Yeah.
Kit Harington.
Oh,
That
It's just
horrible-
like there was like lava flowing from his wings. I was waiting for like a big goop to like fall on top of somebody or
yeah,
something like that.
that would have been sweet. I would
They
have
just
loved
become
that.
Pompeii. Yeah.
I would have loved that. Okay, Carl. So
And then-
that's
More death.
And then, like I said, my favorite scenes were like the what the fuck moments. So like I said, the Firebird coming out of the volcano, Godzilla plummeting down to Earth after.
I was
Ghidorah
definite
blew
what
him
the
up.
fuck moment.
Yeah,
That was so
especially like when he fell on his back and then like made a crack. Like you see like a blue poof. I was like, is this like I thought his spikes were gonna be like broken or something like that. Like he gets
Yeah,
up.
they
and-
didn't really
were
change
fine,
that at
yeah.
all. Yeah.
And
But-
then
He fell straight on his back.
Yeah, straight from like the stratosphere.
and then also just the special effects, like the spikes glowing blue and red. I thought that was really cool. The
Yeah,
light-
it's like it's the Kamehameha.
Yeah,
it's the
and-
charging up move.
I was
like
gonna say he went Super
he
Saiyan.
did go Super
Yeah,
Saiyan
yeah.
like towards the very end. Like I said, Carl, everything you love comes
every
from this
every
movie.
single fucking thing, everything.
They're actually like I think the fact that there's dinosaurs in like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, I think actually is a reference to Godzilla.
it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm sure it is.
It
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. But then also, like the lightning attack that Ghidorah does, where you see the
Yeah,
yellow
like he
coming
chomps
up.
down on that like generator and just like gets
Oh yeah, that
juiced
was a
up.
cool little. Yeah, that was a
like
cool little.
coming from his wings. I'm like, oh, he's never done that before. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool still. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it didn't really have any bearing on the
Gosh.
fight, but it just looked really good.
So many wallpaper potential in this entire movie.
Absolutely. Okay, Wally, what's your what the fuck moment?
Oh gosh.
Don't be like
I
Carl,
think-
pick one.
Pick one. Okay. I think my biggest what the fuck moment was also the thrilling moment of watching poor Millie Bobby Brown run from the they're following her to her house. They're fighting
Yeah.
right outside
It's
of her
hilarious.
fucking house.
Yeah.
And there's
her house
debris
is
falling. I'm
perfectly
like, this
fine.
little girl's gonna get squished like so many times over. I was so nervous that she was gonna die. I'm not even gonna lie. I was totally in the movie at
Well,
that
and
point.
she should have been killed on multiple occasions
Yes.
throughout. When Godzilla and Monster Zero went towards
clash.
each
It's
other.
she got
he's-
stepped.
Yeah, bellied.
Running
straight.
out of Fenway Park, getting shot at.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was fast enough to dodge the lightning too.
Yeah, that was definitely you have to suspend your disbelief.
Just a little.
And dude, I honestly believe that debris should have crushed her and that tub
Dude,
that she was
okay,
in.
she was
She
running.
dodged a big chunk.
No. That big chunk hit her a little bit, and she goes, "Ow!" And then she jumps through
it's
the
like
door.
really
That's
This
what
was hanging out of the tub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
That
arm is
hand.
broken. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean when she was running down the stairs out of Fenway
Yeah, no,
Park,
a big
a
chunk,
huge chunk was rolling after
Yep.
her, and it hit her in the back. She goes, "Ow!" and then jumps through a doorway. She got hit with a piece of concrete
Yeah.
that was rolling and really.
I mean, what? She's from Stranger Things. She's a little
She's got
government
powers.
experiment.
yeah, she
She's
is.
11, dude.
She's actually she controls Godzilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no, I'll shut up.
No,
I'm
go
gonna keep
ahead. Go
talking.
ahead. Keep talking.
There are older movies that follow the arc where there's it's usually one girl is connected with the monster somehow, be it through a necklace or something like that.
so
And I
dumb.
thought they were gonna do that
just like King
with
Kong.
this movie, and they kind of did that with the Orca machine. So
Yeah. And King Kong does the same thing with the woman who
yeah,
knows the savage beast's heart.
yeah. Even
or
in
whatever.
Kong Skull Island, he did that with Captain
John C.
Marvel
Reilly.
in that movie.
He and John C. Reilly had a moment.
They did.
No.
Fist bumped, like in Rampage. Did I tell you guys that Dwayne The Rock Johnson fist bumps the giant gorilla at the end of that?
That's amazing.
It is.
That's this movie, I'm this just feels like Rampage, what Rampage
Yeah.
could have been.
Rampage took itself way too seriously. We get the backstory of the gorillas that, his mom was brutally killed by poachers.
Jesus.
And we kind of see that in the background scene. It's nah, that didn't need to be in this movie.
Okay, so, we've talked a lot about this movie. I think we're ready to do it. So,
Oh,
you didn't tell us
yeah.
your what the fuck.
I already did.
What was it?
It was fucking Rick.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So I
Rickety
totally
Rick.
forgot about it. Yeah, they're getting swifty up in that jet. But so let's go into our reviews. So we got our fuckery scale. It's that 1 to 5. Give a fuck. Give 2 fucks. Don't give 2 fucks.
Okay, let's
Or
start with the super
I
fan.
give fuck and fucking love
Fucking love
so.
this movie. Or
All right,
could
I'll go
fucking
ahead.
care
Yeah,
less.
we got to start with the super fan.
No.
Super
Go
fan.
first.
Okay,
Super
Carl.
Oh, fine.
6.
I give a fuck.
You give
Okay.
a fuck.
I give
Damn,
a
it's a
fuck.
solid 3.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
That's
Yep.
that's not a bad score. I can kind of concur. I'm gonna say I give it 2. I give 2 fucks about this
we're
movie.
just good. Okay.
Yeah, I think all the for what it is, I can understand why people might be mad, but you have to understand it's a tradition to have movies that are pretty close to this, and I feel like this movie compared to the other ones actually had a little bit more of a coherent story that interconnected with the monsters a little better. It wasn't just we're doing all these things, but then we also have to kill this monster on top of it. It was actually
Yeah.
kind of interconnected with the monster's backstory, or the monster's story, which I really liked. I thought the CGI looked phenomenal. I thought the action sequences were great. I do want to see a fight in the daytime. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be really cool.
Yeah. like on Skull Island again too.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's kind of where they're
Exactly.
it's
So
gonna be
like
set.
there is room for improvement, but I'm really excited to see where this franchise goes. And I a solid 4 That's from Doughboys. 4 stars, 4 fucks. I give 2 fucks about
Solid.
this movie. Yeah.
Before I get to my final score, I will say, I do love like genuinely good movies that do like delve into like human character and just like what it is to be human and like
Look,
real stories.
I am
but
a
that
good
is
critic. I am a good critic. I
I'm trying
swear
to
to
say.
God. I have
But
this
this
blinding.
is not that kind of
Just
movie
give
at all.
it the
This,
5.
I have
Just give
this
it the
blind.
5.
Yeah, I have this blinding.
I fucking love this movie. This is
Hell yeah.
from the first like when we see Mothra at the very beginning. When I first saw this, I'm like, oh, this. They knew right away. They have the scene where like Godzilla shows up.
He's
Like
crying
we see
right now. He's tearing up. He's choking back tears.
Like this, this is the kind of reason I go to see movies in the first place. Is kind of this series. Like this was definitely a starting point for a love of like action movies, and dinosaurs definitely came from this series. So it came full force to see like someone who directed this like actually cares about this source material and like love it or hate it, like went full force and like what this kind of movie should be. So for me, it's the perfect film that way.
Damn.
Biased.
No, completely. And yeah,
I'm
they're
okay
probably
with
the
that.
last 5-star review.
Ever. Ever.
No, I'm okay with it,
Yeah,
man.
It
so
Like,
will be
you,
hard
you
for
freaking love
a movie
this
to
stuff.
top the entertainment value I had with this movie. I'm sure there will be better movies like Rocket Man. Seems really good.
I'm really
really
excited
looking
for
forward
that.
to that.
Yep.
Dude,
I'm
I'm
sure,
really
like,
excited
that'll
for
be a-
that Joker movie.
Yeah, that
After
Joker
seeing
movie
that
looks
trailer
phenomenal.
for the
That looks
movie.
really good.
It
too.
looks. I mean, we were talking about it with Brightburn. Is that like I want to see a film that delves into like an actual like human backstory for a villain, and I think it would be
And
better.
like even with Joaquin Phoenix, like we could talk about that a little bit. Even without the makeup, like he's such a good fucking actor. I'm like, he
Yes.
sold this so fucking well just
Yeah.
in this trailer. I'm like, yes, I want to see this guy's story.
Yep,
for
I'm
sure.
so excited. It's gonna be great. So, guys, that's kind of a wrap on the podcast. I mean, we got 4 forks out of 5. Like, or God damn it, I keep saying forks. I listened to
This ain't the
too
film
many
forks.
damn
Well, if we
podcasts.
have to
No,
change
I
it
listened to Doughboys.
a family-friendly name. It'll be the film forks.
No. The Doughboys, that podcast,
Oh, we had-
uses
yeah.
forks as their rating. So yeah, it's 4 or 2
I
fucks.
thought you were just kidding.
It's
Yeah,
2
fucks
fucks.
confused
No,
with forks.
it's 2 fucks out of not 2 fucks. We as
I
a
feel
group
like
give
it's
2
like-
fucks about this
Yes,
movie.
yes.
Yep.
So that's
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. That's pretty
Super
good
biased,
score.
So keep that in mind.
No, not really. I mean, I'm not a super fan of this movie, and I still gave it 4. Or God, fuck shit. I'm gonna unsubscribe to every single podcast I listen to because it's affecting the quality of this podcast. And you know what? Fuck that. Yeah. So I
Fork
guess
out.
fork out. So. Is there anything you guys want to talk about? Any
Oh, yeah,
lasting thing? We got a couple of minutes
What you
left.
fucking with this?
Yeah, what
this
do you want to
week?
fuck with, Carl?
Well, after we're done with this podcast, I am going home because it's my mom's birthday. So that's what
Oh
I'm doing.
wow, what a sacrifice that you made. You're gonna have to really,
You're gonna
be
have
nice
to take
to
her
her,
to see
'cause-
Godzilla. dude.
yeah, Carl. It's the perfect mother-son
Mother's gift.
happy
yeah.
birthday movie.
Oh, I got her jewelry.
yeah,
you know,
it's Godzilla jewelry.
yeah, it's Godzilla jewelry because you guys know the Shopko Delavan.
Yeah, went out of
closed
business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a while
Yeah.
ago. Before they closed, I bought her some jewelry that was clearance to
Nice.
So I was
Excellent.
like, all right, I'll hang on to this for
I
your
hope your mom
birthday."
doesn't listen to this because you don't want her to know. You should say I paid
well-
full price. I paid
Well, the funny thing is that she was there with
$1,200.
me.
Oh,
I picked,
Carl.
dude.
Snap,
Well,
Carl.
I picked
Wow.
out one
Amateur
thing.
move.
I picked out one thing. She was like, "Oh, that's nice."
No
and then
wonder you
she-
went to hell, Carl.
Yeah, no wonder you went to
Christ.
hell and
I,
booked.
I
Chuck.
always, hey,
Hey,
she
Hey,
did
I
like the
spoil
first thing.
surprises.
I know damn well she forgot about this by now because this
well,
was
Carl,
like
she listens to the
2-3
podcast.
months.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
she's our only fan.
She's yeah, I would say that. Hi, Tammy.
Let's try calling Grant again.
Oh, okay. We'll try it one more time. He's not gonna answer. He didn't call me back. Yeah, we'll try
One last
calling
time.
Grant
So
one
what are
more
you
time.
fucking with?
Yeah. So Wally, what are you fucking with?
I don't know.
Damn.
I saw Zoolander again recently.
Oh,
One of my
God.
favorite comedies does not hold up well, but thankfully, as a palate cleanser, I watched the SpongeBob movie. Just as stupid. They even have a plot line where like SpongeBob and Zoolander both are really excited to win this award, but they don't win it, but they still embarrass themselves by both going up for the award. That's heavens in both of these movies. It blew my fucking mind, dude. But Zoolander sucks. SpongeBob's great. So there you go.
No, that's the one where they kill Bieber within like the first
Hello?
5 minutes, right?
Hey,
Good
Grant
afternoon.
Luberta.
This is, well, it's me. What can I do for you?
How's it going?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
Can you hear everybody?
I can hear everybody. I can hear Wally. I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm kind of grocery shopping at Walmart with Casey at the moment.
Oh,
Excellent.
so that's
This is
the
the perfect
perfect time
time,
to
yeah.
ask you, Grant. What did you think of Godzilla, King of
it
Monsters?
just came out. Yeah, the new Godzilla
Yeah,
movie.
the new Godzilla movie.
What did I think of Godzilla? Well, I thought it was interesting that this time they made him the villain and Mothra was actually the hero. Usually when they do that,
Okay,
you
you're
make
kinda
Pretty
right.
close.
You make Mothra the title of the movie, and it'd be like, it'd be Mothra, and then featuring the king of beasts,
The
Donkey
King
Kong.
of Thieves.
King of
who's
Beasts.
secretly Godzilla's one true weakness. Yeah,
His
absolutely,
friendship?
that'll work perfectly. Donkey Kong, because King K. Rool and Godzilla are not
They're
quite
friends.
distant cousins. What's the opposite of a distant cousin? Close cousins. They're close cousins. And so as a result, Donkey Kong
Man, you
naturally
got
has
all
an
the
advantage
Easter
over
eggs, Grant.
not Genghis Khan.
Genghis-
Who are we talking
Donkey
about?
Kong?
Godzilla.
Genghis Khan. No, I like Genghis Khan. Like, he
Yeah,
was
that's
in
good.
there, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like,
There you go.
yeah.
The John Wayne.
But
Genghis Khan.
outside of the role reversal for the movie, I thought the special effects were nice. It was nice to
It
see
was
that they did
nice.
practical effects for everything.
Yeah,
Hearing that
yeah,
every
that's
building
right.
that fell down was an actual building they knocked down, and that one whole like portion of the ocean that they evaporated. That was pretty neat.
Think
I
of the
guess you didn't
Pacific
need the
Rim
Indian
level.
Ocean anymore. So, like,
Dude, how do you
that's
know
cool.
all this?
Yeah, that's really good, Grant.
That's really good.
That's some deep cuts right there.
Okay, so we wanted
Thank
to get
you,
your
Grant.
opinions.
What a
Like, okay,
pleasure.
out of 1 to 5, so like, what?
how many
how do
stars would
how do
you
you rate this?
How do I rate it?
Yes. Considering the movie you just said to us,
Yeah.
you just
What would you
totally
give it?
summarized it.
I give it a 3 out of 5. I
Oh.
need my kaijus with a little more kai and we'll
Oh,
see how I'm gonna roll that back.
Oh, man.
Okay, now we know.
That remark.
Hey,
Sorry,
Grant,
Grant,
Grant, we
you're on
need
the
to
reverse
podcast
that
again.
joke.
We need to introduce you to somebody we had on the podcast last week, and his name is the Literal Devil. So,
oh my god.
yeah. So,
Hey, buddy.
yeah. What?
Less shoes for sure. I agree with that sentiment.
Okay, Grant. So you met the devil. That's great. Yeah. So we'll let you go. Thank you for actually picking up.
In the middle of
Let me know
Walmart.
when you guys,
Love you,
I
buddy.
miss you. Let me know when you guys are able to come down to Des Moines because I'd love to see you.
Well, if you would check the message, the Facebook Messenger, I did like a month ago say, "Hey, I remember us talking about this for a little bit when we were at the party."
And Grant, this is definitely going to
Oh
stay
yeah,
on the
but see
podcast.
Discord, my dude.
Yeah, so we're like, you throw out a weekend that works for you, and we will try and make it work.
Perfect.
Okay,
Sounds
this
like a
is
plan.
all on the
Love you, buddy.
podcast. So Grant, you are
Alright.
honor bound to this. Everybody will listen
Yep.
to this. All of our
It's legit.
2 to 3 fans will listen to this and say Grant is honor bound to do this. So okay,
Even
we'll let
three
you go
fans,
with
me
that.
being one of them. There
Yep.
we go.
Yep. So
Alright,
Grant,
take
you
it-
have to hold
You
yourself
swear by
accountable.
Godzilla.
There we go. All right,
Okay.
take it easy, gentlemen.
Yep. Have a nice rest of your
enjoy-
day.
Aw,
Enjoy Godzilla.
thank
See you, man.
Oh man,
What a guy.
what a
There we
gal.
go. What
Picks
a
up
great
in the
way
middle of Walmart.
Damn.
To, and, well, what are
To-
you fucking with this week?
What am I fucking with this week? Friendship.
Yeah.
Which
Don't
is
fuck your
really what
friends.
Godzilla is all about
It
at the end
is,
of it.
dude.
Like, it's all about
He
friendships.
becomes friends with Rodan even though he killed his woman.
He becomes friends with what?
Oh, actually, Ghidorah killed Mothra.
Yeah, Ghidorah killed Mothra. Or Mothra,
Rodan's a little bitch.
Mothra sacrificed herself
She's like, I got
for
you,
her
baby.
hubby.
Yeah.
Her, like, child bride. She was the child bride to Godzilla's
Yeah.
ancient man.
Yeah.
And she died for
We
him.
don't condone that. Yeah, there's
We don't condone
monster
child
pedophilia,
bridehood,
yeah.
but, you know, sometimes it kind of
You gotta
makes
do
the
what
movie
you gotta
work.
do.
It makes the movie work. So, you know what, guys? On that horrible note, we always have to end with something terrible. Yeah, fork off.